The Great Pyramid's perfect alignment is not an accident. It is a whisper of lost knowledge. This is the silent language of stone and geometry, a code waiting to be cracked. In this journey, we will uncover 25 mathematical patterns hidden inside ancient architecture worldwide. You will gain a completely new understanding of history, one that reveals a shared, global sophistication we never learned in school. How could builders separated by oceans and millennia use the same sacred geometry? What does this tell us about humanity's forgotten connection to the cosmos? By the end, you will see every ancient monument as a complex theorem written in angles and light. What does our modern world overlook in its rush to build the future? That first light on the Acropolis would have revealed more than just a building. It revealed a mathematical truth carved in marble. Standing before the Parthenon, you are not just looking at a temple, you are witnessing the golden ratio given physical form. This number, roughly 1.618, is not some abstract concept. It is the same proportion you see in the spiral of a seashell, the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, and the branching of veins in a leaf. The ancient Greeks called it the divine proportion, believing it was the key to beauty itself, a direct link between the human world and the cosmos. And they did not just admire it, they built it. Look at the facade, the width of the temple to its height, the distance between those iconic columns, even the intricate placement of the sculptural friezes. All of these relationships whisper that same magical number. Architects through the ages like Le Corbusier have measured it and marveled, but why go to such extraordinary lengths? This was not merely about making something strong. It was about making something feel sacred. By encoding the golden ratio into every view, the builders were crafting an experience. They were using mathematics to evoke a sense of perfect balance, of harmony with the natural world in anyone who approached. The Parthenon does not just house the gods, its very structure speaks their language, a language of geometry that we are only beginning to fully hear. And as we will see, this was not a solitary melody but part of a global chorus. Yet this mathematical language of beauty was not confined to the temples of Greece. To find its next profound expression, we must journey to a far older and more imposing structure. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a mountain of geometry. Its perfect square base and triangular face is a study in monumental simplicity. But within that apparent simplicity lies a second, astonishing pattern. If you take the pyramid's original base perimeter and divide it by twice its original height, the result is a number that stops you cold, 3.1416. This is pi, the fundamental constant that defines the relationship between a circle's circumference and its diameter. Here is pi, seemingly encoded within the dimensions of a square-based structure. This is not a coincidence that modern archaeologists stumbled upon. It is a whisper of intention. How could a civilization that left us no written theorems achieve this? One compelling theory suggests the builders used a very practical yet brilliant method. Imagine a ceremonial wheel, a drum with a known circumference. By rolling this wheel a specific number of times to measure the base, and using a different related count to determine the height, the ratio of pi would naturally emerge in the final form. They may not have called it pi or written its symbol, but they understood its principle through the physical act of measurement, embedding a universal truth of circular motion into the most stable shape they knew, the pyramid. This transforms the monument from a mere tomb into a kind of stone calculator, a permanent record of a deep, perhaps sacred, understanding of the world's geometry. It forces us to ask, was this advanced knowledge or an incredible intuitive feat? The precision speaks for itself, a silent testament to a vision that reached for the eternal, using the very constants of the universe as its blueprint. The language of geometry spoke not only in stone and marble, but in fire and earth. While the pyramids encoded pi and the Parthenon embodied divine proportion, an entirely different tradition on the Indian subcontinent was weaving mathematics into the very fabric of spiritual life, centuries before the name Pythagoras was ever spoken. This is our third hidden pattern, the Pythagorean Theorem, meticulously laid out in the Solba Sutras, ancient Vedic texts that are essentially manuals for constructing sacred fire altars. These were not simple pits, but elaborate, large-scale geometric platforms built from precisely arranged bricks. The instructions are astonishingly clear. They detail how to construct squares and rectangles, and crucially, they provide the exact rule for the diagonal of a rectangle. The text explicitly states that the diagonal of a rectangle produces both the length and the breadth, a practical formulation of the theorem we know as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Priests and builders were using this knowledge to ensure that the areas of different altar sections combined perfectly, a necessity for the ritual to be correct and effective. This was mathematics as sacred technology. A single misaligned brick, a miscalculated area, was not just an error in construction, it was a break in the connection to the cosmos. The geometry guaranteed the ritual's power, making the altar a literal bridge between the earthly and the divine. This discovery completely shatters the linear narrative of mathematical history. It shows us that this profound understanding of space and relationship was not discovered once and then spread, but was independently grasped and deeply integrated into spiritual practice across the globe. Here, math was never an abstract classroom exercise. It was the essential code for harmonizing human ceremony with universal order, a pattern of thought that turns calculation into consecration. But to truly grasp the power of this celestial architecture, you must stand on the Salisbury Plain at dawn. As the first sliver of sun crests the horizon on the summer solstice, its light pierces the monument's heart, perfectly framed between the ancient uprights and gracing the central altar stone. This is not a lucky accident of a few scattered rocks. It is a precise, engineered moment, repeated with unwavering accuracy for over 4,000 years. Stonehenge is our fourth hidden pattern, a colossal astronomical observatory built from earth and stone. Its primary axis is meticulously aligned to the solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year. But the sophistication runs far deeper. The arrangement of the sarsen circle and the smaller bluestones create sightlines that also mark the equinoxes, when day and night are equal. Even more remarkably, the monument's geometry appears to track the moon's complex 18.6-year cycle, known as a lunar standstill. Researchers like Gerald Hawkins suggested the structure could have been used to predict eclipses, those awe-inspiring moments when the sun and moon briefly unite or oppose in the sky. For a Neolithic society dependent on planting and harvest, this was not abstract science, it was survival. Stonehenge was a permanent, unyielding calendar carved into the landscape, a communal computer that used shadow and light to announce the turning of the seasons. The pattern here is one of celestial synchronization, a profound human achievement. It represents the universal need to understand our place in time, to anchor our fleeting lives to the grand, predictable cycles of the cosmos. By building a model of the heavens on the ground, the creators connected their community directly to the rhythm of the universe. This same impulse to embed astronomical knowledge into architecture creates a silent bridge across the world, linking this windswept English plain to the sun temples of the Americas and the star-aligned pyramids of Egypt. It reveals a shared global language, not of words, but of aligned stones and measured light, a testament to humanity's enduring quest to read the sky. That same impulse to map the infinite onto the finite took a breathtakingly ornate form in the temple complexes of South India. Gaze upon the towering gateway, the Gopuram, rising like a mountain of carved stone. From a distance, it is a single, overwhelming silhouette against the sky. But as you draw closer, the structure reveals its secret. The entire Gopuram is not one tower, but a cascade of them. Each major tier is crowned by a smaller, equally elaborate pavilion, which itself is adorned with yet smaller sculptural forms. This intricate layering creates a visual echo, a pattern that seems to repeat itself into a shimmering stone infinity. What you are witnessing, centuries before the term was ever coined, is fractal geometry in its purest architectural expression. It mirrors the mathematical principle seen in the Mandelbrot set, where a simple rule generates astonishing complexity, and the same beautiful shape appears no matter how closely you look. For the temple builders, this was not a mathematical exercise, but a profound philosophical and spiritual statement. This recursive design was a deliberate architectural language, a way to represent the infinite nature of the divine and the cosmos within the confines of a single, finite structure. Each repeating layer symbolizes a different plane of existence, from the earthly to the celestial, all contained and connected. The Gopuram becomes a visual metaphor for a universe within a universe, a concept known as infinite regression. It is a hidden code of infinity, written not in numbers but in dancing deities, mythical beasts, and blooming stone lotuses. This demonstrates an intuitive, pre-scientific grasp of a deeply complex mathematical concept, one that our modern computers now visualize with equations, but which ancient artisans expressed through devotion, artistry, and an unparalleled understanding of stone. They built infinity itself, one perfect, repeating carving at a time, offering a silent, stunning answer to the deepest question of all: how do you contain the boundless within a wall of stone? While the temple Gopurams built infinity from stone, another civilization mastered the mathematics of earthly survival, building not for the gods alone but for the life of an entire empire. Walk beneath the towering triple tiers of the Pont du Gard in southern France, and you are not just seeing an aqueduct, you are standing inside a working equation. The rhythmic repetition of its arches creates a visual harmony that feels almost musical, but look closer at their proportions. The spans of the arches, the relationship between the largest lower arcades and the smaller ones above, often align with a very specific numerical pattern: 1.12358. This is the Fibonacci sequence, where each number is the sum of the two before it, a pattern that governs the spiral of a pine cone, the arrangement of leaves on a stem, and the curve of a nautilus shell. It is nature's own growth algorithm. So what is it doing in a Roman aqueduct? The engineers of Rome were not theoretical mathematicians in the way we think of them today. They were supreme pragmatists, solving problems of weight, stress, and material efficiency on a colossal scale. They likely arrived at these proportions through relentless trial and observation, discovering through practice that a structure following this natural progression distributed forces in the most stable, resilient way possible. The Fibonacci pattern in the Pont du Gard is our sixth hidden code, an unconscious application of a universal law of growth and strength. The Romans did not need to name the sequence to understand its power. They simply built with it, and in doing so, they created channels of water that have flowed for 2,000 years. This is where pure function meets profound elegance, where the relentless logic of engineering converges with the deep mathematics of the living world. It reveals a stunning truth that the most durable human creations often mimic the very patterns that make a tree stand against the wind or a shell withstand the pressure of the deep. The empire built in stone, but it thought in the same language as the forest. From the solid, enduring arches of Rome, we now step into a space where geometry dissolves into pure light. Enter the interior of a Persian mosque, and the very walls seem to vanish into a cosmic dance. Every surface, from the floor to the soaring dome, is covered in an explosion of interlacing stars, swirling polygons, and lines that weave in and out of perception. This is not random decoration. It is a supreme intellectual and spiritual discipline known as Jiri tilework. Our seventh hidden pattern is one of infinite complexity born from elegant simplicity, a medieval masterpiece of aperiodic tiling. The artisans worked from a set of just 5 fundamental polygon shapes, each with precise, decorated edges. Like a cosmic puzzle, these tiles could be combined according to strict rules to create patterns that never exactly repeat, covering an infinite plane with ever-varying, yet perfectly harmonious designs. For centuries, this was seen as pure artistic genius. Then, researchers like Peter J. Liu made a stunning discovery. These intricate 15th-century patterns are a form of quasi-crystalline geometry, a mathematical concept the Western world would not formally describe until the 1970s. The builders had intuitively discovered a way to create order without repetition, a visual echo of the complex structures found in certain natural minerals. But here the purpose was transcendent. In a faith that discourages the depiction of figurative forms, this geometry became the primary language of the divine. The endless, non-repeating pattern is a direct symbolic expression of the infinite nature of Allah, a visual proof that the creation is boundless and infinitely detailed, yet governed by a single, unifying set of laws. To stand beneath that dome is to be enveloped in a theorem of infinity, where art, advanced mathematics, and deep theology fuse into a single, breathtaking experience. It is a silent, shimmering sermon written in tile and glaze, telling the viewer that the universe itself is an endless, beautiful equation, and that within its apparent chaos lies a profound and perfect order. This fusion of human form and sacred space was not a fleeting Renaissance fantasy, but a deliberate architectural revolution. While Persian artisans tiled infinity, a different kind of master in Florence looked inward to the very blueprint of the human body and found there the secret to building heaven on earth. Our 8th hidden pattern is the Vitruvian man stepping off the page and into stone. Leonardo da Vinci's iconic drawing, a man perfectly inscribed within a circle and a square, was far more than an artistic study. It was a manifesto, a visual theorem stating that the ideal human proportions are the source of all geometric and architectural harmony. This idea, drawn from the ancient Roman architect Vitruvius, was seized upon by visionaries like Filippo Brunelleschi. When he engineered the immense dome of Santa Maria del Fiore, he did not work from abstract numbers alone. He worked from the body. Key ratios, like the navel as the body's center of balance, were translated directly into the cathedral's design, determining the relationship between the nave's width and the dome's soaring height. The entire structure becomes a magnified, perfected human form reaching toward the sky. This is anthropomorphic geometry, a hidden pattern where arches mimic the curve of a ribcage, and the floor plan extends like outstretched arms in prayer. The pattern reflects a profound shift in thought, the Renaissance belief that man, not just God, was the measure of all things. To build a house for the divine, they used the mathematics of the human form, believing that in our own perfect proportions lay the echo of a cosmic creator. The cathedral was no longer just a symbolic gateway to heaven. It was a mirror, telling every person who entered that they themselves were built from the same sacred geometry as the universe. This conscious revival of an ancient pattern expressed a new, humanistic ideal, one where mathematics became the bridge between the earthly self and the infinite divine, all contained within the span of a single, breathtaking dome. The human body may be a perfect measure for a cathedral, but to scale a mountain of the gods, you need a mathematics of the cosmos itself. This leads us to the 9th hidden pattern, the base 60 system encoded within the Babylonian Ziggurats. To ascend the Etemenanki, the great ziggurat of Babylon believed to be the inspiration for the Tower of Babel, was to climb a staircase of numbers. Its colossal, stepped sides were not merely architectural features. They were a physical expression of the sexagesimal numeral system, a Babylonian invention that still governs our world today. Why base 60? Its genius lies in divisibility. The number 60 can be evenly divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, and 30. This made it the perfect tool for a society obsessed with the heavens, allowing for incredibly smooth calculations of celestial movements, time, and angles without the awkward fractions of a base 10 system. This is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle, a direct inheritance from these ancient mathematicians. The Ziggurats' own dimensions and angular measurements almost certainly reflected this system, turning the entire structure into a giant, three-dimensional calculator dedicated to astrological observation. It was a cosmic mountain, yes, but one built from a lattice of pure, practical arithmetic. Each tier represented a step closer to the divine, but also a more refined unit of calculation, linking the earth to the heavens through a numerical framework of breathtaking elegance and utility. The pattern here is one of supreme practicality elevated to the sacred. The Babylonians did not see math and religion as separate realms. They were two sides of the same tablet. By building their ziggurats with base 60 geometry, they were literally constructing their understanding of the universe, brick by mathematical brick, creating a permanent anchor point where the logic of numbers met the mystery of the stars. The mathematics of sound is a geometry you can hear. At the base of the Great Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, a simple handclap does not return as a simple echo. It transforms, soaring back from the stone as the unmistakable chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird. This is no accident of the jungle. It is our 10th hidden pattern, a masterpiece of architectural acoustics carved into the very steps of the pyramid. The structure's iconic step design acts like a diffraction grating for sound, a precise physical filter. When a sound wave hits the staircase, each step reflects a tiny portion of the wave back to the listener, but at a minutely different time. The precise mathematical relationship between the step height and the wavelength of the original sound causes these reflected waves to combine in the air, amplifying certain frequencies and cancelling others. The result is that sharp, decaying chirp, a perfect acoustic illusion engineered into the stone. Researchers in the field of Acoustics argue this was absolutely intentional. Imagine a ritual at dusk with chants or drumbeats emanating from the temple summit. The pyramid itself would have processed that sound, filtering and reshaping it into something otherworldly before it reached the crowd below. It could make a human voice sound like the cry of a god or the spirit of the feathered serpent descending. This is sonic geometry, a hidden pattern where form manipulates invisible energy to craft experience. It reveals a holistic vision that saw no separation between the physical structure, the mathematics of its proportions, the physics of sound, and the spiritual intent of the ceremony. The pyramid was not a silent stage for ritual. It was an active, resonant participant, a living instrument built to bridge the human and the divine through the calculated manipulation of air and stone. It asks us to listen to history not just with our eyes but with our ears, to hear the equations still echoing in the silence. That same yearning to unite the finite with the infinite found its ultimate stone expression in the vaulted heavens of the Gothic cathedral. High above the nave, a breathtaking dance of geometry unfolds. The square bay of the floor plan, representing the solid, measurable earth, rises through the intricate ribs of the vault, transforming as it ascends. These ribs do not simply meet at a point. They curve and intersect, creating a network of stone that seems to lift the very weight of the building towards the light. And there, at the eastern end, framed by this stone lattice, is the radiant rose window, a perfect circle of stained glass depicting celestial order. This is the 11th hidden pattern, the architectural squaring of the circle. For medieval thinkers, this was not merely a decorative motif, it was the central philosophical puzzle of their age, a geometric metaphor for the greatest challenge of all, reconciling the earthly realm with the divine. The square, with its 4 sides symbolizing the 4 elements, the 4 seasons, the material world, was seen as the domain of humanity. The circle, with no beginning and no end, represented the perfection, unity, and eternity of God. To square the circle meant to find a harmony between them, to bring heaven down to earth. While the mathematical proof of its impossibility would come later, master masons pursued it through brilliant approximation. They used a compass and straightedge to create ingenious geometric constructions like the octagon, which mediates between the square and the circle, to design their vaults and window tracery. The entire cathedral becomes a 3-dimensional model of this spiritual endeavor. You walk on the square, you are encompassed by the ascending geometry, and your gaze is drawn upward to the luminous circle. The building itself is a theological argument written in rib and glass, asserting that through sacred geometry, the human and the divine could be brought into a sublime structural relationship. It is a testament to a worldview where every line drawn, every stone cut, was an act of both faith and profound intellectual inquiry, a permanent record of the medieval mind striving to build a bridge to the infinite, one precise, beautiful angle at a time. The perfect grid of a city is a promise of order, a mathematical vision of how humans should live together. In the Indus Valley, over 4,500 years ago, that promise was kept. The streets of Mohenjo-Daro run with an almost unnerving precision, a rigid north-south and east-west grid laid out across the baked earth. This is our 12th hidden pattern, orthogonal urban planning on a colossal scale, a Cartesian coordinate system realized in mudbrick and thoroughfare centuries before the philosophy of geometry was even named. To achieve this, the city's planners needed more than a strong ruler, they needed a unified system. Archaeologists have found evidence of highly standardized bricks, whose consistent proportions repeat throughout the city, and a sophisticated system of weights and measures. This suggests a central authority with the power to enforce these standards, applying mathematical consistency to everything from a single house to the entire urban footprint. But why such rigidity? The genius of the grid reveals itself in its purpose. Those wide, straight streets were not just for grand processions, they were integral to a network of covered drains and a complex, city-wide water management system. Mathematics here was the tool of public health and social equity. The grid ensured efficient drainage, preventing the stagnation of water and the spread of illness in a dense urban environment. It also promoted a remarkable sense of equality, with neighborhoods of similar-sized houses arranged along the same orderly lanes, suggesting a society less focused on monumental palaces for the elite and more on the harmonious functioning of the whole community. This was a city built by consensus and calculation, where geometry dictated the flow of water, people, and goods. It represents one of humanity's earliest and most complete visions of the city as a mathematical construct, a living theorem where the right angles of the streets laid the foundation for civic life, commerce, and a shared identity. In Mohenjo-Daro, the hidden pattern is not in a single sacred building, but in the very idea of the street itself, a straight line drawn toward a collective future. The spiral of the Guggenheim Museum is a promise of motion frozen in concrete. As you ascend its gentle, continuous ramp, the entire museum unfolds around you in a single, unbroken curve. This is our 13th hidden pattern, the logarithmic spiral, a shape governed by the mathematical constant known as Euler's number. While Frank Lloyd Wright's masterpiece is modern, the pattern it embodies is as ancient as life itself. Look at a nautilus shell, its chambers expanding in a perfect, ever-widening curve. This is not a random coil, it is a precise growth algorithm, where each new chamber is a scaled-up version of the last, maintaining a constant shape as it grows. This is the efficiency of nature, a blueprint for expansion that requires no redesign, simply a faithful following of a mathematical rule. Wright did not just copy a seashell, he understood its logic. The Guggenheim's ramp allows the visitor to experience art and architecture in a continuous, flowing journey, mirroring the organic, unfolding nature of the spiral itself. It feels natural because it is built on a pattern that predates humanity, and this reverence for the spiral is not new. From the intricate triple spirals carved into Neolithic stones at Newgrange to the vibrant walls adorning Minoan pottery, ancient cultures worldwide were drawn to this form. They may not have known the constant E or the calculus that describes it, but they recognized its profound beauty and its echo of cosmic growth from galaxies to hurricanes. This connection reveals a timeless thread, humanity's intuitive grasp of nature's deep mathematics, later formalized by science and reapplied to shape our world. It shows that the most forward-looking architecture often finds its deepest inspiration in the oldest patterns of all, written not in stone first, but in the very code of life. A 5-story pagoda stands serene in a Japanese garden, its elegant tiers rising like a stack of ceremonial roofs against the sky. Yet within this symbol of peace lies a hidden mathematical defiance, a silent battle plan against the Earth's most violent tremors. This is our 14th hidden pattern, the strategic use of prime number ratios. Look closely at the proportions between each successive tier, the relationship of the width of one story to the next, or the spacing between the central pillar and the outer eaves, often corresponds to ratios built from small, indivisible prime numbers like 2 to 3 or 3 to 5. This is not a random aesthetic choice. Modern structural engineers have analyzed these ancient forms and made a stunning discovery. These specific, uneven prime ratios create a carefully calibrated asymmetry in the building's mass and stiffness. When an earthquake's waves hit, this asymmetry prevents the entire structure from swaying in one unified, catastrophic rhythm. Instead, each tier sways at a slightly different frequency, like the branches of a flexible tree moving independently in a storm. The energy of the quake is not concentrated but is dissipated and absorbed as the stories gently rock out of sync with one another, a phenomenon known as dynamic damping. The mathematical genius is profound. By avoiding simple, harmonious ratios, the builders avoided a deadly resonance, ensuring the pagoda would dance with the quake rather than fight it. This represents a deep, empirical understanding of vibration and resonance, achieved through centuries of observation and refinement. It proves these spiritual monuments were also masterclasses in mathematically informed engineering, designed not just to reach for the heavens, but to stand unshaken when the very earth tried to throw them down. Here, number theory became the silent guardian of faith, a code of survival written in wood and proportion, allowing beauty to endure through the chaos of nature. The elegance of prime numbers protecting a pagoda speaks to a mathematics of survival, but what of a geometry of pure, abstract thought? Scattered across the rolling landscapes of Neolithic Scotland, polished stone spheres, some over 5,000 years old, hold a secret in their palms. These carved stone balls, often decorated with intricate knobs and symmetrical patterns, are not mere curiosities. Many of them, when studied, reveal the exact proportions of the 5 Platonic solids. These are the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron, shapes so perfect that every face is an identical regular polygon, every angle is equal, and they fit perfectly within a sphere. Long before the Greek philosopher Plato would declare them the fundamental shapes of the universe, associating them with fire, earth, air, the cosmos, and water, ancient hands were carving their essence into granite and sandstone. This is our 15th hidden pattern, the archetypal geometry of the Platonic solids, emerging from the deep past. Why would a Neolithic artisan spend untold hours pecking and grinding a stone into such a precise, multidimensional form? Some were likely used as practical tools, perhaps for weaving or as weights, but the sheer variety and mathematical precision of others suggest a deeper purpose. They may have served as tokens of status or knowledge, physical embodiments of a profound understanding of symmetry and balance. Some researchers even propose that the layouts of certain megalithic sites, with their circular ditches and strategically placed posts, reflect the spatial relationships of these solids, turning the landscape itself into a low-resolution model of cosmic geometry. The pattern here is one of intuitive discovery. Without formal theorems, these early people grasped the most fundamental, beautiful forms that three-dimensional space allows. It reveals a human mind already playing with the pure idea of form, seeking the perfect shapes that underlie the apparent chaos of the natural world. These stone balls are not just artifacts, they are quiet arguments, proving that the drive to find order, to codify the perfect symmetry of the universe, is not a product of advanced civilization, but a fundamental thread in the human story, carved in stone millennia before it was ever written in ink. The city of Chang'an was a perfect square of cosmic ambition. Its walls did not merely mark a boundary, they inscribed a diagram of the heavens onto the earth. This is our 16th hidden pattern, the harmonic proportions of ancient Chinese city planning, a system where geometry was the language of destiny. The blueprint was not drawn by a single architect, but dictated by the Caogongji, an ancient ritual text that served as a sacred manual for constructing the ideal capital. Its rules were precise and deeply symbolic. The city must be a perfect square, oriented to the cardinal directions. Each of its 4 sides was to have 3 gates, making 12 in total, aligning with the 12 months of the lunar year. Within this square, a vast grid of 9 vertical and 9 horizontal main streets would divide the urban space into orderly blocks, a pattern mirroring the ancient Chinese concept of the ninefold division of the world. At the exact center, the imperial palace complex would sit, the axis mundi connecting the human realm directly to the celestial order above. But this was far more than symbolic pageantry. It was applied mathematics as a tool of geomancy, known as feng shui. The planners used a modular system of measurement where every dimension, from the width of a street to the depth of a courtyard, was derived from a fundamental unit. These proportions were calculated to be harmonious, creating ratios that were believed to resonate with the natural energy flows of the land and the cosmos. The entire city became a colossal tuning fork, its geometry designed to vibrate in harmony with the universe itself. The mathematical pattern here is one of cosmological mapping. Chang'an was not built against the landscape, but mathematically woven into it, aligning human activity, political power, and spiritual belief into a single, coherent system. It reflects a worldview with no separation between number, nature, and philosophy. Mathematics was the essential tool for achieving balance or harmony, the foundational principle for a stable and prosperous society. To walk its gridded streets was to move through a living theorem, a daily demonstration that human flourishing depended on aligning our creations with the deep, geometric order of all things. The pointed arch is more than an elegant silhouette against the sky. It is the physical manifestation of a sacred intersection. To construct it, medieval masons began with a deceptively simple act, drawing 2 circles of equal size so that the edge of each passes through the other's center. The almond-shaped space where they overlap is the vesica piscis, the bladder of the fish, and from this single geometric seed grew the entire structural and aesthetic logic of the Gothic Revolution. This 17th hidden pattern is one of generative geometry, where a spiritual diagram becomes a practical architectural tool. The vesica piscis was rich with Christian meaning, representing the intersection of heaven and earth, the shape of the halo around Christ, and the ichthys, symbol of faith. But for the master builder with compass in hand, it was first and foremost a precise mathematical generator. The proportions inherent in the shape, the relationship between its width and height, yield a series of harmonious ratios, including the square root of 3. By using this overlapping circle construction as their template, masons could ensure that every pointed arch in every bay of every cathedral maintained a consistent, perfect proportion. This geometric consistency was the hidden key to the Gothic ambition. It allowed for the creation of taller, more delicate walls, because the pointed arch directed weight more efficiently downward than the rounded Roman arch. That efficiency in turn made space for the true glory of the style, the vast expanses of stained glass that turned stone into kaleidoscopes of divine light. The rose window itself is often a complex elaboration of the Vesica principle, so the pattern here is one of breathtaking synthesis. A single, spiritually charged geometric operation, performed with a compass on a tracing floor, was scaled into a revolution. It unified structural engineering, theological symbolism, and artistic expression into a single, coherent language. The cathedral did not just contain sacred geometry, it was grown from it, each arch a petal sprung from the same eternal, intersecting circles, proving that the most profound architectural leaps often begin with two simple arcs drawn in the dust. High above the serene pond of Gyeongbokgung Palace, the delicate wooden lattice of the Gyeongwonjeong Pavilion's ceiling holds a secret language. Look closely at the intricate geometric patterns between the beams, and you will see more than just decoration. You are looking at the 18th hidden pattern, a system of binary codes carved in wood, the hexagrams of the I Ching, or Book of Changes. Each hexagram is a stack of 6 lines, some solid and some broken, a precise arrangement that is, in essence, an ancient 6-bit binary system. A solid line represents Yang, the active, creative force, while a broken line represents Yin, the receptive, nurturing force. With just these two symbols, the system generates 64 unique combinations, each one a complex philosophical statement about a particular state of change in the universe, from creative beginnings to peaceful retreat. Their placement in the architecture was a deliberate act of cosmic programming. By embedding specific hexagrams into the ceiling of a pavilion or the layout of a scholar's study, the builders were not merely adorning a space, they were aligning it. They were invoking the hexagram for gathering together to foster harmony in a council hall, or the hexagram for modesty to instill reflection in a private garden retreat. The building itself became a talisman, its very structure placed under the guidance and protection of a specific cosmic principle. This is a pattern of informational symbolism, where architecture transcends physical shelter to become a vessel for encoded wisdom. The mathematical genius lies in the combinatorial power of the system, using a simple binary vocabulary to describe the infinite complexity of human experience and natural law. To sit beneath that ceiling was to be surrounded by a silent, wooden algorithm, a constant reminder that the walls around you were in conversation with the timeless patterns of change, balance, and harmony that govern all things. It was a way to build not just with wood and tile, but with the very code of existence. The human eye does not crave perfect symmetry so much as it seeks a dynamic balance. Look at the front of a Greek temple or a Roman basilica, and you will see this principle carved in stone long before any photographer gave it a name. This is our 19th hidden pattern, the rule of thirds in classical facade design. The entire elevation is intuitively divided into 3 distinct horizontal bands: the sturdy base, the rhythmic body of columns or arches, and the crowning pediment or entablature. These sections are not equal. Typically, the solid base occupies roughly 1/3 of the total height, while the columned body and the ornate crown together fill the remaining 2/3. This 1/3 to 2/3 ratio is not arbitrary. It is a mathematical discovery about visual psychology. It creates a sense of profound stability, as if the building is firmly rooted to the earth, while simultaneously guiding the viewer's gaze upward on a natural journey. The eye rests comfortably on the primary horizontal divisions, then is drawn to the details within each section, finding focal points that feel inherently correct. This tripartite scheme does more than just look good, it tells a story. The base represents the earthly foundation, the body is the realm of human activity and order, and the crown reaches toward the divine or the symbolic heavens. Ancient architects, through observation and refinement, empirically discovered that this specific proportional relationship was inherently pleasing, that it created a feeling of harmony and importance. They were mapping the mathematics of human perception onto marble and travertine. Centuries later, Renaissance artists and, eventually, modern photographers would formalize this as the rule of thirds, a guideline for creating compelling composition. But its origin lies in the silent logic of a column rising from its stylobate, a testament to an unspoken truth that the most enduring beauty often follows a simple, elegant fraction, a hidden code for making stone feel alive and a structure feel eternally right. Great Zimbabwe rises from the earth not as a rigid grid, but as a living stone forest. Its winding walls curve and enclose, creating a labyrinth of spaces that feels organic, almost grown rather than built. This is not a chaotic sprawl, but a profound architectural intelligence, our 20th hidden pattern, fractal branching in ancient African settlement design. Walk through the ruins and you will experience this geometry firsthand. You enter through a main passage into a large, central enclosure, a place for communal gathering. From this central space, narrower passages lead off to smaller, more private courtyards, and from these courtyards, doorways open into individual rooms or specialized spaces. The layout repeats the same branching logic at every scale, from the grand down to the intimate, creating a self-similar pattern like the limbs of a great acacia tree or the tributaries of a river. This is fractal architecture, a mathematical blueprint for community. Its efficiency is breathtaking. The branching pathways create natural airflow, ventilating the entire complex. The nested, defensible spaces offered security, as any approach had to win through multiple layers. Socially, it mirrored the structure of the community itself, with extended families occupying clusters of rooms branching from a shared courtyard, all connected back to the larger communal heart. The pattern reveals a bottom-up genius. There was likely no single, overarching master plan drawn on parchment. Instead, the settlement grew organically over generations, following a shared, intuitive rule: add a new space by branching it from an existing one, always maintaining the same proportional relationship. This created a cohesive whole that was remarkably adaptable, able to expand seamlessly as the community grew. It reflects a deep integration with the environment, using the same mathematical logic found in nature to build a society that was, in its very layout, a reflection of the natural world. Here, the hidden pattern is one of emergent order, proving that profound complexity and perfect function can arise not from a top-down decree, but from a simple, beautiful rule repeated by countless hands across centuries. The stone walls of Machu Picchu are a conversation in rock, each block speaking to its neighbor with a precision that defies belief. No mortar fills the hairline seams between these massive, irregular polygons, yet you cannot slip a blade of grass between them. This is our 21st hidden pattern, the applied trigonometry of Inca masonry, a three-dimensional puzzle solved not on parchment, but on the mountainside itself. How could builders without the wheel, without iron tools, achieve such impossible fits? The answer lies in a hands-on mathematics of angle and force. The masons likely worked with a set of simple, brilliant tools, knotted cords for consistent measurement, and wooden or stone templates to define key angles. Each boulder was not carved to a pre-drawn shape, but painstakingly shaped through a process of trial and refinement. They would position a stone, use their chords and angle guides to measure the gaps at every contact point, then carefully peck and grind the granite to improve the fit, repeating the process until the stone literally locked into place. This was practical trigonometry in its purest form, a constant calculation of dihedral angles and planar surfaces across dozens of contact points for a single block. The result was not just a wall but a monolithic fabric. During an earthquake, a rigid wall of uniform blocks would crack and collapse, but this interlocking polygonal jigsaw has no single plane of weakness. When the ground shakes, the stones in an Inca wall simply shift and settle, then lock back into position, dissipating the energy across thousands of tiny, angled faces. The pattern here is one of embodied knowledge, a geometry that lived in the hands and eyes of the mason, translated directly from mental calculation to stone. It represents a supreme understanding that the strength of a structure lies not in the hardness of its material, but in the intelligence of its joints. This was engineering as a dialogue with the mountain, using the immutable laws of angles to create a resilience that has endured for centuries, a silent, enduring testament to the power of applied thought, where every perfectly fitted seam is a theorem written in granite. A perfect sum can be a shield, carved discreetly into the stonework of medieval Islamic structures, like the magnificent Friday Mosque in Isfahan. One finds a deceptively simple grid of numbers. This is the 22nd hidden pattern, the magic square, a talisman of stone and ink. At first glance, it resembles a child's puzzle, a 3x3 or 4x4 grid. But its rule is absolute. Every single row, every column, and even the two main diagonals must all add up to the exact same total. Creating such a square is a feat of combinatorial mathematics, a silent exercise in constrained possibility. Yet for the builders and patrons, this was far more than an intellectual exercise. It was a repository of potent energy. Based on intricate numerological systems, each number and its specific position held symbolic meaning, associated with planets, elements, or divine attributes. The constant sum represented an unshakable cosmic equilibrium, a perfect balance of forces. By embedding this square into the very fabric of a mosque's wall, the architects were doing something profound. They were turning the building into a permanent talisman. It was believed to actively protect the space and its worshippers, to attract beneficial influences and harmonize the spiritual environment. This practice reveals a worldview where numbers were not passive symbols, but active, living forces. Mathematics here was the interface between the seen and unseen, a precise language for engaging with the architecture of the cosmos itself. The wall did not just contain a carving, it contained a battery of numerical symmetry, a silent guardian whose power was derived from the eternal, unchanging truth of numerical relationships. It showcases the ultimate fusion of advanced abstract thought with spiritual necessity, where a master mathematician's logic became a community's sacred protection, written in a grid of 9 perfect sums. The same impulse to build a community from the ground up, to encode its values into the land itself, found perhaps its most democratic medium in the soil of North America. The great earthen mounds of Cahokia, like the colossal Monk's Mound, rise from the Mississippi floodplain not as random hills, but as the 23rd hidden pattern, a proportional system written in earth and horizon. These are not simple piles of dirt, they are precisely engineered platforms, their base lengths and heights often conforming to simple whole number ratios, like 1:2 or 2:3. This mathematical clarity organizes a vast, complex landscape. The mounds are arranged in geometric patterns, with central plazas and processional ways, all meticulously aligned to solar events like the equinox sunrise. The largest mound, positioned centrally, was likely the focal point for the entire community. its size and location a direct expression of its importance within a social and cosmological hierarchy. The pattern here is one of scaled earthwork geometry, using basic, powerful ratios to give order to a sprawling ceremonial city. Without cut stone or written records, the builders of Cahokia demonstrated a profound mathematical planning intelligence. They used the most abundant material, earth, to sculpt their understanding of the universe. The height of a mound might correspond to its ritual significance, the distance between structures reflecting celestial measurements, turning the entire settlement into a three-dimensional calendar and a map of the community's beliefs. This reveals that sophistication is not defined by the permanence of the material, but by the clarity of the idea. By shaping the very topography with proportion and alignment, they encoded their societal values, their connection to the cycles of the sun, and their communal identity into the living landscape, creating a monument not meant to defy time but to harmonize with it. The path to the center is never a straight line. Etched into the stone floors of great medieval cathedrals like Chartres lies a pattern of quiet power, the Unicursal Labyrinth. This is our 24th hidden pattern, a geometric journey carved for the soles of the feet. Unlike a maze designed to confuse with dead ends, this labyrinth offers a single, winding but unerring path to a central point and back out again. Its layout is a masterpiece of controlled linear geometry, a precise mathematical algorithm rendered in stone and mortar. Every turn, every loop is predetermined, creating a circuit that is both long and certain. For the medieval pilgrim who could not travel to Jerusalem, walking this path became a profound substitute, a spiritual pilgrimage compressed into a few dozen paces. The pattern itself is the teacher. As you follow its serpentine route, your body performs a slow, deliberate dance dictated by circles and arcs. The relentless focus on the path ahead, the rhythmic left and right turns quiet the chatter of the mind. The long, indirect approach to the center mirrors the human experience of seeking understanding, where insight is rarely reached directly, but through a process of winding reflection. This transforms the architecture from a static space into an active guide. The floor becomes a spiritual tool, using the pure, repeatable logic of geometry to choreograph not just movement but inner transformation. It demonstrates how a simple, elegant form can be a container for profound psychological and philosophical experience. The labyrinth does not tell you what to think. Its mathematics show you how to journey, proving that sometimes the most direct route to the center of oneself is a beautifully calculated, circular detour. The final pattern brings us back to the very origin of the idea that number is the secret language of the cosmos. For Pythagoras, the universe was not silent, it was a symphony. He discovered that the most beautiful musical intervals, the perfect fifth, the resonant octave, were produced by simple, whole number ratios in the length of a vibrating string. A string half as long sounded an octave higher, a ratio of 2:1. A string with a length ratio of 3:2 produced the powerful fifth. From this, he proposed an astonishing vision that the planets themselves, moving in their vast orbits, hummed with these same mathematical frequencies, creating a celestial music inaudible to human ears, the harmony of the spheres. This was not merely poetry, it was a cosmic blueprint, and centuries later, that blueprint was taken off the page and built into the very walls of homes. The Renaissance architect Andrea Palladio became the master of this transposition. In his serene Venetian villas, he designed rooms not with random, pleasing proportions, but with dimensions that directly mirrored those musical ratios. A room whose length was twice its width resonated with the ratio of an octave, 2:1. A room in the proportion of 3:2 echoed the perfect fifth. Palladio believed that just as these intervals created harmony for the ear, they would create an intangible, felt harmony for the soul within a space. Walking from a room based on a fifth into one based on a fourth would be like moving through a chord progression made solid. The pattern here is the most ambitious of all, the attempt to make architecture itself a physical echo of cosmic music. While proving such intentional harmonics in structures thousands of years older is difficult, the persistence of the idea is telling. From Gothic cathedrals to modern concert halls, the intuition remains that the same mathematical relationships that please our ears might also calm our spirits and focus our minds when given form in wood, stone, and light. It represents the ultimate aspiration of this hidden language, to build not just shelters or monuments, but instruments, spaces tuned to the fundamental frequencies of beauty itself, composing silent music from the very geometry of our world. These threads, scattered across continents and millennia, do not lie in isolation. They weave together into a single, breathtaking tapestry of human thought. From the golden ratio in Athens to the celestial alignments at Stonehenge, from the fractal towers of India to the earthquake-defying pagodas of Japan, we see a chorus of discovery, not a series of solo performances. Cultures that never met, that built with different materials under different skies, repeatedly grasped the same profound geometric truths. They used the golden ratio to seek beauty, pi to encode cosmic constants, and sacred geometry to bridge the earthly and the divine. This is the stunning synthesis, the 25th and perhaps most important pattern of all, the global tapestry of hidden mathematics. What does this tell us? It suggests that mathematical insight is not the invention of any one culture, but a universal language waiting to be spoken. The human mind, observing the same spirals in shells, the same branching in trees, and the same cycles in the heavens, seems wired to find these patterns. The ancients were not primitive, they were the original scientists and philosophers, using the world as their laboratory and their monuments as permanent, public records of their theorems. They did not separate art from engineering or spirituality from calculation. A pyramid was a tomb, an observatory, and a mathematical proof all at once. This shared legacy challenges our modern, compartmentalized view of knowledge. It reveals a time when to build was to think, and to think was to connect with the very fabric of reality. These 25 patterns are more than historical footnotes, they are a mirror. They show us that the drive to find order, meaning, and harmony in the universe is a defining human trait, one that has always expressed itself in the silent, eloquent language of stone and number. The next time you look at an ancient structure, listen closely. You might just hear the echo of a universal mind, still whispering its secrets across the ages. The silent stones have spoken, revealing a legacy far richer than we ever knew. We have walked through 25 doorways into the minds of our ancestors, and what we found was not primitive instinct, but a sophisticated, shared language. From the golden ratio in Greece to the celestial mathematics of Stonehenge, from the fractal towers of India to the resonant acoustics of the Maya, a single truth emerges. These ancient builders were not merely stacking stone or raising temples, they were inscribing their deepest understanding of the cosmos into the very fabric of their world. They were mathematicians mapping the heavens, engineers calculating resonance, and philosophers seeking harmony, all through the universal medium of geometry. Their monuments are not ruins, they are active lessons, permanent public records of a universal logic that connects humanity across every ocean and millennium. This shared legacy shatters the old narrative of isolated, primitive cultures. Instead, it weaves a global tapestry of inquiry, showing that the human drive to find order, meaning, and beauty in the universe is our most profound common trait. They used the constants of nature, pi, and the golden ratio as their blueprint. They turned architecture into astronomy, philosophy, and music. They built calendars to track time, structures to withstand the Earth's fury, and spaces to guide the human spirit on winding journeys inward. The key takeaway is humbling and exhilarating. Our ancestors saw no separation between the spiritual and the scientific, the artistic and the engineered. A pyramid was a tomb, an observatory, and a mathematical proof all at once. A cathedral was a theological argument written in light and stone. This exploration does more than change how we see the past. It invites us to look at all human achievement with greater wonder and to ask a vital question of our own age. What patterns are we embedding in our world today? What silent language will our steel and glass speak to those who come 1,000 years from now? Let this be a call to curiosity. Look closer at the ancient wonders around you, for they are not silent. They hold codes waiting to be read, whispers of a universal mind that sought and found the music of the spheres in the arrangement of stone. If this journey through hidden mathematics resonated with you, there are many more mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Please subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest puzzles and share in the comments below which of these 25 architectural patterns amazed you the most.